Hi everyone, welcome back to Eve Math Tutoring. Today's lesson is on trigonometry, law of cosines. So let's start off by writing down what the law of cosines is. So first of all, the law of cosines is given by the following. A squared is equal to b squared, side a squared is equal to side b squared plus side c squared minus 2 side b side c times cos of angle A. Side b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cos of side angle B, and then c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos of angle C. Okay, so that is the law of cosines. And we use the law of cosines when we don't have a corresponding side and angle. So that's very important to remember. So use the cosine law to solve triangles in trigonometry when you're not given in the question you're not given in the question a corresponding side and angle. So in the question, if you don't see any corresponding sides and angles, that should be a hint to you that you're using the cosine law instead of the sine law, because otherwise you would use, otherwise if you do have a corresponding side and angle, you always use the sine law. I would recommend to use the sine law. So otherwise use the sine law. Okay, so if you don't have a corresponding side and angle in your given triangle in the question, you will use the cosine law. That's when we use the cosine law instead of the sine law to solve angles and sides and triangles in trigonometry. If we do have a corresponding side and angle, we use the sine law. So this cosine law is used when you can't use the sine law, okay, to solve a triangle. Because the sine law is a lot easier than cosine law. Cosine law is a lot less complicated, so normally we try to use the sine law if we can to solve triangles, but if we don't have a corresponding side and angle, we have no choice but to use the cosine law. All right, so let's try. I'm going to show you an example when this would apply. So here is an example. So say you are asked to solve the following triangle. You're given the following triangle. So sometimes you'll be given the triangles already drawn out in the questions, and sometimes you'll have to draw them out yourself with the information that's given to you in the description of the triangle. So here's the triangle. So right off the bat, when I see a solve the triangle question, I always think first if I can use the sine law to start it off. Or actually, the first thing I do is figure out if I can figure out an easy angle using the 180 rule. So first thing I would recommend is look for if you've got two angles and you can find a third angle. In this case, I've only got one angle, so I can't use the 180 rule. The next thing I look for, so first you look for the 180 rule for the angles, okay? Now, if that doesn't apply, then the second thing you look for is the sine law, if you can use the sine law. So for the sine law, you need a side and corresponding angle. You have to have one side that has one letter or angle inside that have both the angle is given to you and the side is given to you, and then you can use the sine law. So in this case, as you see, side A is not given, angle A is given, and then we've got sides B and C, but we don't have angles. So we don't have any of them where both the angle and the side, corresponding side, are given. So I have angle A, but I don't have side A, and then I've got for B, I've got side B, but I don't have angle B. And then for C, I've got side C, and I don't have angle C. And I can't use the 180 rule to find any of these two. So here I say, wait a minute. If I set up the sine law, then I'm going to have two unknowns. When I set up the sine law, I'm going to have two unknowns. So that is not solvable. So that's how you know you have to use the cosine law. So in a situation like this, because we do not have a corresponding side and angle for any of our angles, we have to use cosine law. So you can now use the cosine law in any way. So now you can use, any of those three that I was giving. You can figure out, you can use the sides to figure out other angles, etc. Now over here, I see that I've got side B and C, and I've got angle A. I'm going to find side A. So I'm going to go A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos of angle A. Okay, so, and now I can find A by using the cosine law. So I plug in side B, which is 16.4 squares, because side B is the side that's across of B. So that's how I know this is B. This is side B. And here, side C is across C. So I should have mentioned that as well. So as you see, A is across A, and then over here, C, this is side C, it's across angle C, and this here is side B because it's across angle B. That's important too. You have to make sure you do those correctly. So now side C is 10.6 squared minus 2 times B, which is 16.4, and 10.6 cos of angle A, which is 128.5 degrees. You can put that in brackets if you want. And you're going to simplify. So here we get 268.96 plus 112.36. We can just do that on the calculator. 347.68 cos of 128.5. Simplifying further, I can add these two and I can get, actually before I start adding, let me simplify a little bit more here. Plus 112.36 minus, let's do this part here. So you're going to multiply cos. You're going to do cos of 128.5 first on your calculator, and you're going to have to make sure your calculator is in degree mode. That's important. You can throw off your answer. So your calculator should be in degree mode, not in radian mode, because you will get the wrong answer if it is in radian mode, and your question gives you degrees instead of radians. So make sure your calculator is in degree mode before you start this question. Then when you're doing this part here, you have to evaluate the trig part first, trig function. So you're going to do cos of 128.5 on the calculator, and your calculator should be in degree mode. When you do that, you multiply that number by 347.68, and the number you should get is negative 216.43588889. So if you do this part correctly, you should get this number. Okay, and then you are going to add those up, these two. So these two become plus, obviously, two negatives make a plus. Then you can just do 268.96 plus 112.36 plus, this becomes a plus, two negatives, 216.43, etc. So you're going to get that A squared is equal to 597.7558889. And then to solve for A, you're going to take the root of that number. So you can take the root of 597.7 and you're going to get 24.4 as your answer for side A. So once we get that, we can plug that in here. Let's use red. We can plug that in here, 24.4. Okay, so that's how we would use the cosine law to find that side. And now that I've got a corresponding side and angle, I can now use the sine law to solve the other angles. Okay, to find another angle, because now I can use this, and then I can use a side and an angle, and I can use the sine law to solve one of my angles. So let's continue on the next page. So what you're going to do here is now you're going to use the sine law. And when you do that, you're going to get sine of, let me just go back and show you what I have in here. So if I redraw my triangle, I should redraw what I have so we can see what we're working with. So our triangle was like this, B, C, and A. So we had 128.5 degrees, 10.6 for side C, 16.4 for side B. This is C. And then we had figured out that side A was equal to 24.4, and we did that by using the cosine law. Okay? So now because we've got a corresponding side and angle, we can use the sine law, and I'm going to use A, and I'm looking for an angle because I've got two sides, and that's why I'm writing the angle sine of A on top and not the little a on top. And then because I've got this on top, I've got to write the other one the same way. So sine of A. So now I'm going to plug in what I have here to find another angle. So I'm going to look for angle B. I could have solved C. I could have just done sine of C over C in that order. So the order doesn't matter as long as you solve it correctly. There's more than one way to solve these questions. Okay, so sine of A is going to be 128.5. So over sine of A, which is 24.4. Sine of B, which is B we don't have, and side B, sorry, 16.4. So now you're going to multiply 16.4 by sine of 128.5. 24.4 is equal to sine of B. Now to solve for B, you have to take the sine inverse of this times sine of 128.5 degrees over 24.4. You have to take the sine inverse of this. So that angle B is going to be equal to 31.7 degrees. Now you're going to plug this part in your calculator first, and then multiply, and then divide. Then that number you get, you're going to take the sine inverse of that. So this is a function on your calculator that you should be able to find. It's usually like the shift sign button. So you press shift and then sign, and you should see this on your calculator, the sine inverse. And then the number usually just transfers over. So the different scientific calculators will show you something different. But the sine inverse function is on your calculator, and it's usually given by pressing shift and then pressing sine. Okay? So you do that, and then sometimes you have to enter in the number, and sometimes the number just transfers over while you're calculating. So depending on your calculator, you should figure that part out. If you do it correctly, you will get the answer 31.7 degrees for angle B. So now I figured out angle B, which is 31.7 degrees. And now, because I've got two angles, instead of using the sine law to find C, I can quickly just do the 180 rule. So angle C is just equal to 180 minus the other two. So point C and angle A, because I know that all three angles of a triangle, of every single triangle in mathematics or in life, is always equal to 180. So whenever you've got three angles, they always, plus x is always equal to 180 degrees, no matter what, okay? And I shouldn't use the same thing. We should say A, B, and C, because they could be different, or they could be, some of them could be the same, and the third one could be different, okay? So when you do this, you're going to get your third angle, which is 19.8 degrees. And that's your final angles, 19.8 degrees as your final angle. Okay, so that's how you would solve that triangle using the cosine law. I'm going to give you another example. Now in this one, when we started off here, we saw that so in this one we had, when we started, we had two sides given and an angle given, okay, but we did not have a corresponding side and angle. You could be given a different example, solve the triangle, where you've got, say, like three sides given, A, C, and B, and you've got three sides given. So side A is 128, or you've just got, maybe they don't even tell you that this is side A, and you just have the number written down. So 128, and then B is equal to 146, and then C is equal to 222. So here again, you notice here that I can't use the 180 rule for angles, and I can't use the sine law because I don't have a corresponding side and angle. I only have three sides, and none of the angles are given. Okay, so because I don't have a corresponding side and angle, no corresponding side and angle. Therefore, we use the cosine law. Otherwise, we always try to use the sine law in trigonometry because it's a lot easier and faster to solve. So you can solve for any angle. You can decide which angle you want to solve for first. But I'm going to pick, say, I don't know, angle B. But I could have solved for A or C, doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to pick angle B. So I'm going to put the cosine law for B. So B squared is equal to A squared plus C squared, the other two, minus 2 of the other two, AC, cos of B. So the side and the angle are always in the same law. The one on the left side, the one you're looking for, and the angle should be set up this way, okay? So here it is. So I'm going to use this. I have the information on this, the B, but I'm going to use this to find angle B, okay? So what you're going to do here is start solving. So plug in the information you have and try to figure out angle B. So let's plug in what we have. We've got now side B is this one here. And angle, sorry, side A is across angle A, so this is A, and this is C, because it's across angle C. So B is equal to 146, A is equal to 128, C is equal to 222, and then 2 times A, which is 128, times C, which is 222, cos of B, capital B. Okay, so now we get 21316 equal to 16384 plus 49284 minus this times 2, which is 56832, cos of capital B. So now what we're going to do is bring these over to the left side, and when we do that, when we take these two over to the other side, okay, let's erase this and make some space, because now we are running out of space over here. All right, so we're going to bring these over to the left side, this and this, and when we do that, we get 21316 minus this number and minus this number. So I'll just write it out here. 21316 minus 16384 minus 49284 is equal to negative 56832. Cos of B, and I'm not bringing the 5 because in front of cos of B, so it's multiplication. So work this out. We get negative 44352 is equal to negative 56832 cos of B. And then to solve for cos of B, I'm going to divide both sides by this number. So I'm going to try to get rid of the number in front of cos of B. Cos of B. When I do that, I get this decimal, 0.7804. You want to keep as many decimal places as you can with these examples to get the correct and accurate answers. Okay, and that's why I've kept a lot of decimals, as many as possible. Okay, now to solve for B, we're going to take the cos inverse of this number. Okay, same number. To solve for angle B. The cos inverse of this number right here. And when we do, we get 38.7 degrees as our answer. Our calculator should be in degree mode because we're working with degree. We want the answer in degrees. So our calculator should be in degree mode. If you wanted the answer in radians, you would have had your calculator in radian mode. Okay, so we're going to keep it in degree mode. But if you wanted your answer in radians, you could have had your calculator in radian mode. So we just found angle B using the cosine law. Once we have angle B, it's easy to solve for the rest using, again, the same sorts of things that we were doing before. Okay, so now that I've got angle B, So what we could do is plug this in. Now we've got 38, we just solved 38.7, and now I'm going to use the sine law because I still don't have third angle to find, I've got B and side B, so I can use that to find either angle A or angle C using the other two sides, okay? So if we continue now with this question, I'm going to use the sine law of, I'm going to find angle A first. So sine of 38.7 over 146 is equal to sine of A over 128. And I'm getting that from my triangle, which is a C and B. We've got 128, 146, and 222. And then we've got 38.7 over here, 38.7, okay? Oops. Okay, so sine of A, so let's plug everything in. So 128 times sine of 38.7 over 146 sine of A. A is equal to sine inverse of this. Sine inverse of 0.54815795. Sine inverse, and angle A is equal to 33.2. Okay, so angle A is equal to 33.2. That's angle A. Okay? So once you have that, you can find C very easily by just using the 180 rule. So angle C is 180 minus 33.2 minus 38.7, which is 108.1 degrees. That's angle C. Okay, so that is angle C, 108.1 degrees. 108.1 degrees is angle C. And I could have, here, I could have solved for C instead. I could have done, I could have solved for C first using this. So there's not one way to solve these, okay? So I could have solved C first, and then I could have used C, angles B and C, to find A over here. Okay, so those are two really good examples of when you would use the cosine law to solve a trigonometry question involving triangles. If you can avoid the cosine law, I would recommend to do that and just use the sine law. It's a lot faster, but like I said, if you do not have a corresponding side and angle, you do have to use the cosine law at some point, usually just once in the question.